and I'm not too excited about it, so we're going to take this road slow. Cancel my indicators, and you know, hopefully the wind won't be like this all the time. I mean, there's obviously the wind from the bike moving through the air, but it's actually just also pretty windy today. And hopefully the camera doesn't get overheated. I'm hoping if I'm moving with more speed, the camera won't get so hot, because it was getting really hot yesterday, and it kept turning off for heat warnings. And with so much to do this morning, I really didn't have time to work on ventilating the case to make it more bearable. Okay, so these are the corners. Starting at the corners I'm a little worried about here, so we're going slow. I'm focusing here, looking ahead, looking where I want to go. Light brake, lean the bike just a little smidgy. Wait for this straight section, check my mirrors, make sure there's no one coming down this hill at 50 like I would normally be doing in a car. Coming in, everything's groovy. We're just cruising. We haven't gotten to the bad corner yet. And until I do this a lot more, I think I'm just going to be intimidated by it, as I probably should be. You know, when they were talking about riding in the motorcycle course, they were saying, you know, take it easy when you first get your license. Don't hop on the highway. I was like, well, check. My bike won't even do highway speeds. Like, don't go on any twisty mountain roads. I'm like, well, I can't really check that because I live on twisty mountain roads. If I want to ride the thing anywhere, I have to learn to conquer these pretty quickly. But as long as I'm conscious about it, looking ahead, remembering what I learned, and just taking it easy, I think it'll be okay. This is a corner right here. You can see skid marks from people realizing this corner's coming up on them, and they're doing 50-60 miles an hour. And this corner is sharp. It's sharper coming up than it is coming down, but it's still pretty sharp. Okay, that wasn't so bad. That was pretty manageable. I was a little intimidated for nothing. Now going back up, I don't know. On the way home, I'm not going to film because it'll be nighttime, and you know, I need to have all my senses about me, so I'll probably take a longer route home, I think, to avoid that corner for now. Because going up, it's a really sharp right, and it's a blind corner, and people that are going too fast often jump the line in that spot, so it's not worth it. It's not worth taking that chance. Some sand in the middle of the road there. I'll scoot over, scoot back. There's a little dip over here, and it'll be interesting to hit it on the bike, because I hit it in the car, and you feel the weight transfer in the car, and the springs can become completely unsprung, zero tension coming up this thing. But I do hit it at 50-60 miles an hour. We're doing 31, just cruising. Whee! Very fun there. Keep an eye on those mirrors, make sure I'm not holding anybody up, because I hate it when people hold me up, and I don't want to be that person. But at the same time, we're not going to be going fast because we don't want to have ourselves an incident. You'll notice on the corners I kind of go to the number 3 over there, over to the right of the lane, because I've seen so many people cut these lines, get out of their lane in the corners, and I don't want to come around a corner and come face to face with the front end of an F350 or something. So it's just safer for me to kind of slow down, take my time, and be on the inside, give myself all the room I can get. A little straightaway here, we'll feed her a little bit of speed. I got my backpack on, so my aerodynamics are heavily compromised, but I gotta carry a lot of stuff for work, so you gotta do what you gotta do, you know? We're rolling, everything's cool. This road's a lot more bumpy on the bike. A lot more bumpy, actually. I'm sure I'm gonna find that to be the case with a lot of places. You know, even in the Miata that I drive every day with the stiff suspension, that feels more bumps than most cars, and you still get a lot soaked up as opposed to being on a bike. And this bike has soft suspension for the most part, so it doesn't I just feel it moving underneath me, I guess. It doesn't really rock my body or anything like that. Follow the chevrons, don't get crazy. We're gonna have to go down a gear here. We'll wait for the end of the corner though. This is by far the slowest I've ever been on this road. But it's okay, I feel safe, and that's what I want right now. I just want to feel safe. I don't want to rush or do anything crazy. Even the route that I'm choosing to go to work, because I have to avoid the highway, is a route I've never taken before. I've taken portions of it when I was planning on riding, and I was testing out a few sections of it in the car, but I've never ridden it all the way through in the configuration I'm going to use. And on top of that, there is a section of it I didn't even know about till I was looking it up on the maps the other day. 20-mile-an-hour corner coming up here. We're going a little faster than 20, but that's okay. We'll slow it down up here. Lean her in a little. Perfection. There we go. Still a beginner rider, but that doesn't mean I need to do anything crazy. A lot of bugs out today too. Getting a lot of bug hits. That's okay. Part of riding a bike. Now, this section of road up here is pretty much where I test cars, because it's like a personal racetrack. Got these nice windy corners and stuff, but you really gotta go through it once at highway, at the speed limit, and then come back through it, because you don't want to be rushing through here when somebody's coming around these corners. So there's an object in the road there. Board. Yeah, so you want to, if you're going to come out here do something to test the suspension parts or something, you want to run through it, make sure that everything's cool, and then turn around and come back through it, because it's hard to know if there's somebody coming up. Like right now, we don't know who could be ahead of us, and people cut these lanes and stuff. But when you're driving, you know how far the last car was behind you thereabouts, and you know kind of the gap of time you have. So I kind of pick up the pace a little bit, build myself a gap, and then come through it again. I haven't done that in a long time. It's been a few years. My time of speeding around with cars is coming to an end, and for no reason other than I'm just getting older, and I'm not as interested in it as I was before. Now, this motorcycle adventure thing is kind of my new interest. And I don't know how far it'll go. Maybe it'll be a lifelong thing. That'd be cool. It's gonna depend, I was really worried about this bike just feeling underpowered and stuff on the road, but right now, since we haven't had anybody catch up to us yet, we're doing 40, which is 15 under the speed limit, and I feel perfectly safe and fine. I left really early, so I'll get to work on time. I'm not worried about it. And so if this is how it has to be for me to feel good, then that's fine with me. We can just cruise along and leave for work early. And if you get to work a little early, then that's great. And if you don't, I can't say that I'll be late. I left too early. This drive would take roughly an hour in a car, and I left a little after noon, and I have to be at work at 3, so I kind of gave myself a little more than 2 hours to make this trip happen. See that guy crossing the lines? What a knucklehead. Those guys right there, those are the ones you got to be careful of. And it happens a lot on that road. It happens nearly every time I go down this road, and I drive it to go to work all the time, so that's part of the reason I didn't want to go fast. I just wanted to go slow, give myself as many options for escape routes as I could get. Still nobody behind us, that's good. If somebody comes up behind, of course it's the law for slower vehicles to move over. It's a law that nobody really listens to, except for people that live up here full time, I think. But I will definitely be moving over because I'm not looking for trouble, that's for sure. There you go, nice little windy tricky section. This corner can get you if you're not paying attention. It's not a difficult corner. It just kind of comes on fast. And if you're cruising through that corner quickly, it can sneak up on you if you're not paying attention. Maybe you were shooting in front of somebody at that stop sign or something like that. It can happen. Yeah, this is the area where I live. It's an interesting place because there are people out here with money, and there's people who are farmers and may not have as much money. And it's kind of an interesting mix of people. And you have people who are farmers and have money, of course, too. Like this guy up here, he's got quite the setup happening. A lot of grow houses and stuff like that. Not really sure what he farms, but he's definitely got quite the operation going there. And with the sun out here in California, I would imagine that a grow house is probably the way to go. I'd imagine that the sun probably gets too intense for the plants sometimes. You would think. I'm not a farmer, so I don't know. I have a plant that I'm growing and slowly killing it, and then I have a couple of cactuses that, you know, they don't really take much, so I can grow those without killing them. It's crazy going slow on this road. I'm so used to like catching a group of cars, waiting for this passing zone because it's one of the very few. Hopefully getting a chance to pass, and then if you get to pass them all, you'll speed up and you'll catch the next set of cars in 5 minutes or less. And I'm just so used to that. So having this whole trip so far where I haven't even encountered anybody in my lane is quite a different experience, to say the least. But I'm glad I decided to start taking this route. I started doing this route in the car as well to dodge the traffic down in the city, because this bypasses a lot of it. It's a little bit more out of the way, but less traffic. And as I was learning to ride and I was getting ready to start riding to work, I was giving this road a lot of thought, thinking like maybe this is the way for me to be, is just to take this route because it's slower, it's less traffic, and you can avoid the highway, which I have to avoid the highway. I don't really have an option, so... But yeah, so far I'm perfectly happy with it. There's still one more difficult section ahead though. There's one section up there after we pass the fire station where it gets really congested, tight corners one after another. And in a car it's really fun, and I'm sure in a bike with a rider who knows what they're doing it's probably really fun. But the only time I've ever seen motorcycles go through there was a group of motorcycle sheriff's deputies, and they were running in a convoy together, and they were going very, very slow, like 30 under the limit slow through that section. So, you know, I'm gonna take their lead on that one today. We're gonna go at the sheriff deputy speed here at 30 under, and just take it easy through there. I don't want to have any complications. There we go. This corner right here is one of the few corners you do have to brake for in a car. I'll give it the love brake there. And as you can see, it's darkened from people not realizing that, coming in hot and hitting the brakes hard. And some of these corners have some pretty gnarly little bumps in them. I don't know what that's really from. You know, maybe it's heavy trucks hitting the brakes really hard when it's hot, or something else. I don't really know, but it is intriguing that they are almost the size of a tire and they're in the tire tracks, but it's just a bump that it goes down like a divot. But not quite a pothole. It doesn't have the broken edges like a pothole would. They're just indented. It's interesting. And I'm seeing a lot more of them than I really realized were there, since we're going slower and I'm really focused on the road ahead of me. There's a lot more of those little indentations than I realized before. And it's funny because I really do pay attention to road conditions when I'm driving a car, especially on roads that are like this one where I drive it all the time, and I do intend to drive spiritedly on those roads. Is I really try to pay attention to road conditions to make sure that the road is of decent enough quality for me to feel safe to drive at a increased pace. When I say increased pace, I don't mean speeding or like really going super crazy racetrack speeds. Compared to my racetrack pace, I would probably call it 4 or 5 tenths, you know, of how fast I would be driving it if that was the same corner on a racetrack. So if the speed limit here is 55, I'd be doing maybe 65 or 70. And to me, that's just kind of like a driving pace that I do. It is speeding, it is illegal, and I am in the wrong for doing that, admittedly. But that's just the pace that I drive at. And if a police officer pulled me over and said, "Miss, you're speeding," well, I'd have to take that ticket. I wouldn't fight the guy or girl. I'd just be like, "Well, officer, you know I was speeding, and that is that. There's nothing I can do with I'm not going to try to argue with him." I definitely don't want to. You definitely never want to argue with a cop on the side of the road. You're gonna, if you really feel you've been wronged, and you have some evidence against that, or just something was fishy about the whole thing, you'll have your day in court. You know, the officer's just trying to do his job, and fighting with him is not going to solve anything. It's just going to anger the officer. So it's just better to just take your day in court and figure out how to solve those issues. And I think being friendly and just being a nice person is always the way to be. I pride myself in the sense that I've been driving for a long time now, and I've always driven at a quick pace, much faster when I was younger. Stupid speeds, you know, the things that young people do. And I've been pulled over a lot. I think I counted it up one time, and I think I've been pulled over 8 or 9 times, which some people, of course, will laugh at that, but those are rookie numbers. But for someone like me that is, you know, trying to keep their nose clean, that's a pretty fair amount of times. Out of all those times I've been pulled over, I've never had a speeding ticket. The closest I ever had is I got some like increased, they called it increased chance of causing an accident ticket, which was kind of like a no points ticket. And that was because I was doing like 15 over, and it had snowed a few days earlier, so the roads were just a little wet. And I was trying to get my friend to the airport. We were running late. But yeah, so that's the closest thing I've ever gotten to a speeding ticket. I've never gotten a bona fide, legitimate speeding ticket. And I pride myself on that. And I think a lot of it is owed to just being polite when you get pulled over, accepting the blame. That's a big key. It just, you know, admitting you're wrong, you were doing something bad, and you got caught doing it, and you're going to accept the consequences. That goes a long way with officers. And I've also found, this is a great story. One time I was at home, it was getting late, and a girl I was dating wanted to meet me in a city that was a little ways away. It was probably like an hour and a half away. At the time, I had this 2000 Chevrolet Camaro Super Sport, and I had some work done to it, so it was probably about a 400 horsepower car, give or take. And that drive, I was screaming. I mean, I was doing 120, 130 miles an hour or so. And well, we got somebody catching up to us here. And so I was going about that fast. I was on the New Jersey Turnpike, and I slowed down to come around this corner in the Turnpike, and I slowed down to some amount of speed. So from 130 to some amount of speed. And all right, I'm gonna pull over for this guy really quick. I don't wanna. Go ahead, buddy. Get back on there. Anyway, so I slowed down to some amount of speed. Coming around this corner, there's 2 New Jersey police officers in the median talking to each other. And I look in my rearview mirror. I don't know how fast I was going when I was going by them, but it was fast. I see them pop their lights on immediately, so I knew I was screwed. So I pulled over immediately, shut the car off, rolled the windows down, and the police officer comes up behind me, and he gets out of his patrol car, walks up to my car, and you know, he came up to the passenger window, which startled me. I wasn't expecting that. Bang, you know, and he's just there. I didn't roll down the passenger window, so I roll it down. I say, "Hello, officer," and he goes, "I've never seen anybody pull themselves over before." And I and I was like, well, here's the fire station I was talking about. So I was like, well, you know, I knew I was speeding, and you were right there, and you know, you were going to get me anyway, so there's no point in trying to play the game. He accepted that. This guy with a bug in my chest, you know, he took my stuff and went back, and then he came back and asked me why I was speeding and all these things, and I told him that my girlfriend's mom had broken her leg and was at the hospital a few exits up, which was true. That was true. That was happening, but that was not the reason I was speeding. And he accepted that, and which I lied to the officer, which you shouldn't do. But I thought it was a pretty good excuse. I had the text messages to back it up, so I thought it was viable. And he had some questions about the car because it did have a legal tint on it, and it had New Jersey plates, and I had Arizona driver's license, and there was a lot of iffy things. It had an illegal exhaust on it, but overall he was just like, listen, you were doing 97, and this is a construction zone, so speed limit's 45. And I was like, oh geez, this is where I'm going to get my ticket. And he's like, I don't want to see you in this car doing anything like that ever again. Please be safe. And he handed me my stuff and let me go. And I couldn't believe it. And I think it was because I pulled myself over. I can't come up with a better, reason as to why they would let me get away with something so just brazen. It had to be because I pulled myself over and I was willing to accept my blame, accept the blame for the wrongdoing that I had done. And they let me go. So that was a really cool moment for me, and it was impressive. I mean, there could be way more to it too, and it could have been like the end of his shift. He's just not really wanting to deal with this kind of problem right now, or whatever. Who's to say? But to me, I felt like I had chosen to make a decision to pull over and accept the consequences of me doing something dumb, and I got rewarded for that, in my head at least. So that's the story of how I got pulled over in my Camaro. That lady was waving to me. How nice. I don't know who she is, but it's nice of her. This little corner can get a little funky from time to time. Again, with the people cutting the lines right here. You come up on somebody and they're in your lane. We're just going slow. We're enjoying our ride today. It is hot. It's really hot today, but that's okay. Woo. There's somebody. Pick up the pace a little bit on this section here. Oh, you hear that wind? And I need my earplugs. 65. Yeah, that's the fastest I've ever seen this thing go. Going downhill with a headwind. It's not even a tailwind, but 65, that's not bad. Just slow down for this corner here. Don't want to go too fast. I still feel like my fairings are a little messed up from yesterday, but I tried to straighten them out, and then the headlight, it's a little crooked, but a part of me feels like maybe it was always crooked, because I would imagine that the factories do lean the lights a little bit to see better what's on the side of the road, but I don't think it should be that crooked. But I loosened the 6 retainers that hold it on and tried to give it any movement it could, and it's not really budging. I mean, you can move it a little bit with the loosening of the bolts because you have that play now, but ultimately I couldn't get it to scoot over where I figured it should be, which I would think would be centered with the front fender, but I can't get it to do that, and so I'm just going to have to live with that now as a reminder of my mistake. And maybe one day when I'm clowning on the motorcycle and doing things I shouldn't be doing, I could look down at that crooked headlight and think to myself, this is why you shouldn't do that. Remember that? Remember when you fell down on camera? And that was a bad time. So you shouldn't do that. Am I actually catching up to somebody, or do they just pull out? I mean, I imagine one of these days I'll catch up to somebody, because there are people who drive really slow on this road, and that's fair. This road is a little windy, it's a little crazy. People that are not as good at drivers are a little bit too cautious. Maybe too cautious is not the right word, just cautious. Those people drive about 15 under, typically about 40 miles an hour, which has been the speed we've been going most of this ride. So I don't know if I should be in the center lane here, just because This area looks so worn in and soft, but the rest of it looks kind of crowned, so I'm going to stick to the softy side here. Slow down for the corner. And the spike's brand new, so the brakes are really grabby. You just barely breathe on them and they're pulling you down. Throw out the anchors, as they say. Alright, here we are. Nice little loop there. Woo! It's fun. Yeah, I still don't really have a lot of experience with this bike. I mean, I don't have any experience really as a biker. Let's just get that out in the open. But sometimes this bike feels like it's a part of me, like I'm doing everything right and the bike is cool and we're comfortable together. There's other times where I feel like I'm completely disconnected from it and like it doesn't want to be with me at all. But I never feel that way in my mini Honda 2.1. Yeah, my mini Honda, I never ever get that feeling. So maybe one day, depending on how well these things go, I might take the mini Honda to work. I mean, if this thing's not any faster, it's just bigger, and so I wanted to buy it because I felt like I'd be seen by traffic. The mini Honda's so small, I worried that if I rode that bike, I wouldn't be able to be seen by traffic. So that was my concern. That's the whole reason I bought this bike, and the fact that it's really, really, really cheap. $3,000 for this bike. By the time it was tax, title, and the dealership upcharges and all that, it was $4,500. That was pretty good. Looking back on it, $4,500 can get you a lot of bike, but I didn't know that. I was new to this whole thing, so to me, $4,500 sounded really inexpensive for a brand new motorcycle, especially because the Trail 125 has huge dealership markups, and I paid nearly twice MSRP for that thing. It was like $6,200, give or take, to buy that bike. So that was just kind of how I just thought bikes worked like that. Like the bikes that you wanted were in demand and they could just upcharge you. So to have this bike, which had just come out and seemed to be in demand based on what I was seeing in the Trail 125 forums, be basically hardly marked up at all, just destination charge and setup and things like that. I was like, well, cool, I'd like to buy it, and I did. The salesman there tried to talk me into a Kawasaki. I believe it was a KLX 230, but I don't know for a fact. I don't know enough about bikes yet to really say for sure that's what it was. But it was a Sumo is what it was. It was a supermoto. And I wasn't interested in it because it was a supermoto. I needed the dual sport abilities for my sand and stuff, and so it turned me off for that. But I did sit on it and stuff, and I took a look at it, and the guy at the dealership was trying to tell me, like, this bike's not that much more than the Honda you want, and it's much more usable for the engine power and stuff, and it'll just be a better bike. And it's just not having it. I didn't want to have to buy it and have to put different tires on it, different wheels, and I just wasn't that interested in it. But looking back on it now, maybe that's the bike I should have bought. I don't know, maybe the guy was right. I mean, he does do it for a living, right? Just got to know something. Stall the bike. I'm a beginner. I know nothing about nothing. It's a little bit hotter in the valley. Not as much crosswind though, just mostly the up front wind from riding through it. I will say, obviously, having a cheap bike has its drawbacks. I would love a gear indicator. Even my Trail 125 doesn't have that, but I would love a gear indicator. As a new rider, that would be an awesome piece of equipment for me to have. So, here's the choice I have to make up here at this intersection, right? It's legal for me to lane split, but I'm timid and I'm not sure I'm ready. But I also don't want to be sitting dead in this intersection, just hanging out. So there's not really a car behind me, so if when the car finally catches up to me at this light, they're going to definitely be not expecting a bike there. And on top of that, if I split this lane, I'm hanging out in traffic big time. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna hang out here and just... Okay, so I can give myself an escape route here by hanging out on this side of the Suburban. So that way, if somebody's coming up too quickly, I can just creep up to this Suburban right here. Feel pretty safe. It's not bad. Kind of hanging out in the traffic on this side, but this guy's going slow next to me. That's good. This 18-wheeler is going to take off really slowly, probably. It's a lot hotter when you're sitting still. That's for sure. Alright, we got a car coming up. Oh, he's going the other way. He looked like he was coming in. This light is a long one for sure. Because we're about to turn on kind of like a divided highway, and this is the end of it. So all the people coming through the divided highway right here, they got to reach this intersection and go through it. So the lights are long. But hopefully we get moving before the camera gets too hot. There's something dangling out of that Suburban, like a little thing of beads or something. Interesting. Might have been second, I'm not really sure. Alright, now here's the part I've been really kind of intimidated by. Divided highway here, where I've got to be moving. I can't be hanging out at low speeds like we were. I could hang out behind this truck though. Could do that, let's do that. I'm going to turn on my blinker. Get in here. We'll just hang out behind this truck. He doesn't look like he has anything terrifying that'll come off that thing. The tractors, you know, if that tractor comes off, we got bigger problems. There's probably not going to be a lane I can escape to anyway. So, we'll just hang out here behind him. California law states that when you're towing something, you can only go 55, which is about the comfort speed of this bike. So, as long as he's obeying the law, I'll just stay a nice safe distance behind him. And the fact that he's there big and got a big yellow tractor on the trailer will hopefully provide me some decent cover. A lot of wind coming off the dang thing though. Feeling those side winds. That's probably why bikers don't want to follow trucks, huh? It's the side winds just slapping you left and right, left and right, left and right. Unless I could find a passenger car that isn't wanting to move any faster than this speed either. I'm just going to hang out right here. I don't want to try to get into the fast lane and do it. The speed limit on this road is 65, and as we just saw on this, we did 65 earlier, but that was the fastest I've ever seen this bike go. So I don't want to try to keep the thing pinned for however many miles this is. If we can just cruise it. We're doing 55 right now, nice and comfortable. There's a guy on a bicycle up there. Man, it kind of looks like my neighbor. There's also a travel trailer up there, it looks like. And this red light gets me every time. I never make it through this light. Slow it down. Third, second, first, See, that's another spot. I could split lanes here, but this traffic's moving and the lane isn't quite that clear, so again, too scared to do it in time. And you can see they just did this road, so the lines are pretty non-existent. Yellow, we're gonna go through that. Oh, he's going for it. Brave man. The Wildcat Max here. Which we'll follow. We'll follow the Wildcat Max. He'll get up to speed when he's good and ready. Definitely going to be thirsty by the time I get to work, being in the heat. It's hot. My idea, I thought about maybe trying to chance some section of the highway, the last section, just because I know traffic's moving so much slower than the posted speed limit. And if I was thinking, man, if I could just get on there and get behind a truck like I was doing here, I'd probably be okay, but I decided it's just not worth it. I can zigzag through town and get to where I want to get to safer than trying to get this thing on the highway and just max pinning it for miles. It's amazing what impatience can do to make you make bad decisions. That's not what you want. You want to make good decisions, so you gotta fight your impatience sometimes. Got a red light up there. All these big trucks are slowing down. And it's turned green, so the guy with the Caterpillar, he's got to get moving now. That box truck behind him, and then this Wildcat guy and me, I'm going to catch up to him in a second. I've been really wondering about 18-wheelers. I know they're geared low and they're torque, not power, but when you see a truck leave a light and they're going as slow as they're going, I wonder, is that because they're changing so many gears, or is the weight really that heavy, or what it is? And when you see them going up the hill, I've heard complaints about people getting stuck behind them, and then I've heard truckers or family members of truckers, they'll state that if the truck stops on a hill that steep, it doesn't have the power to get going, and it's just bonkers to me because they have so much torque, just an unbelievable amount of torque, and all the gearing in the world. How is it that what they're carrying is that heavy to where the truck can't get itself to move again? It's just crazy to me. I guess it's just a lot of weight. It's just a crazy amount of weight. I'm getting some of those side winds again. Don't know if it's from the traffic or just the breeze that we were feeling on the mountain now that we're in the valley. Getting a little bit of it down here too. Could be both, I suppose. Could be both. We're just cruising along. Everything's good. I can't wait to get up here into Menifee. Some trees there, so hopefully get a little bit of shade. For those of you that don't know, this is the Demogoni, or Demogani. I've heard it pronounced a lot of ways. It's a weird spelling. It's in Hemet, California / San Jacinto, California, and it goes into Menifee. And this is where they filmed the last scenes from the first Fast and Furious movie, where they're trying to steal the truck for the last time, and Brian's there with the Supra, and everything goes haywire. They filmed all that on this road way back when that movie came out in 2000, or that movie came out in 2001, excuse me, so it's probably like 2000 or maybe late 1999. So back then there wasn't anything really out here, and they filmed all that sequence up here. Actually, the water tower that they hide the Civics on is also on this road. We've already passed it, but it's on this road too. So they did all that filming out here. And now the Hemet and San Jacinto area has really developed quite a lot since 2001. So a lot of that is caught up, especially once we go through this intersection where this highway crosses another highway. And the development up there has really, really grown a lot. And that's happened since I've moved here. I moved here 5 years ago. And just in the last 5 years, I've seen this development grow a huge amount. So, I mean, it was literally none of it was here when I first moved here. Now there's multiple housing developments going in all in one little area. And I'm going to wonder what it's going to do to the Demogoni, because they can't have that many people over here and leave this thing at that section, at least at 65, with like hardly any traffic lights. People are just going to get creamed. So I'm really curious as to what they're going to do. I might lane split this one. I don't want to get sandwiched between these two trucks. I turned off because of the heat. You guys didn't get to see the suburbs. That's okay. We're in a different suburb now. We're in Menifee. On this road, this is the road I didn't know existed before. I'm new to it. I've never been on it before. I know it's supposed to go to the road that I wanted to go to. And I know it's going to be a left, so I want to be in that left lane eventually, but not right this second. It's 25. Just slow down a little bit. I don't know where the children's are. I'm not trying to get a ticket either. I did end up splitting those lanes between those big trucks, and it was fine. The speed limit's 50 now. That's what I like. I like the greens. Keep the greens coming. Get out of this guy's blind spot. Out of this guy's blind spot too. Yellow. See, I've come up on Simpson before on this. And that's a little ways from here, that other road. We'll get there. I also recall this road not being in the greatest of condition, so I don't want to go super fast, but I didn't want to hang around the other cars either. So decisions. Watch out for that male guy. I don't know what he's doing. I don't even think he even knows what he's doing. I'm gonna hang back. I don't want nothing to do with that dude. Wind her down, nice and easy. There's nobody behind me, so I can just slow on down to my pace. Not a worry. I see, in these situations, I'm not really sure what the best thing to do is. I think I'm gonna get over here, get next to the van, the crazy van. Trust me, Mustang guy, I'm not trying to race you. He probably didn't even, he's probably just going at his regular Mustang speeds. It's weird, I almost kind of like the cover up cars at these intersections. I don't really like coming up to them naked like this. This car go by. He was turning anyway, but still. Feel the heat coming off that blacktop, that's for sure. Alright, across this little intersection into this one, into a construction zone it looks like, and it looks like this lane's the one that's going straight. Again, it's a turn lane and everything. Not really sure I want to try to split these guys. I think I just want to stay right here. I'm just gonna give myself a little escape next to the Chevy if I need to. Come on, buddy. There you go. Oh, shit. There we go. Find the right gear. The beginner rider things, I do them all. I drop the bike, I stall the bike. Be prepared to stop. Okay. Okay. Stop sign. We'll get our gear this time. Alright, there we go, that's first. Alright. Stop and go. Now they're prepared to stop. Okay. There we go. And we're stopping. Get our gear again. That's fourth. That's third. That's second. That's first. Double check. Yeah, that's first. Alright. I'm okay with styling a bike and I'm okay with looking like a doofus, but not in front of the same car twice. That's too embarrassing, you know? Stop. Good to go. Watch these guys. Oh yeah, I remember this. Now this road kind of curves a little bit. Yeah. There's supposed to be a big fire out here somewhere. Supposedly the road I'm working my way towards is the other side of it. It's like Gilman Springs area. There's a big wildfire over there. I heard that Gilman Springs itself is closed. Don't you do it. And this road should be okay. We'll see. I only have to be on this road for a short distance. It's just coming up and then cutting over to the next town over. And then I'm going to cut through that town and to the next town, and then that town's where I work. So, and of course, I'll have to cut you guys short right before I get to where I work. Security purposes and things, but that's okay. I'm curious what they'll say about the camera on my face, but as long as it's off, I don't think they'll complain, so that's what I'll have to do. I do hope it is recording right now. It's kind of hard to tell if you're hitting the record back on when you're trying to do it in motion. It's hard to hear the beep, and obviously I don't want to do it too much like that, because I want to have both my hands on the handlebars and not playing with the thing attached to my face. But at the same time, I don't want to have to cut it short mid-sentence just because it got hot and died. So here we are. I guess the other potential too is the battery could have actually died. That's, you know, I put a new battery in it, but GoPro batteries are strange. When they sit overnight, they just kind of lose a lot of their energy. Okie dokie. Coming to a stop-a-reno. 4th, 3rd. Second, 1st. Little California stop action. Road should be up here. It's this road ends and turns onto that one, so at that point I'll be able to cut, and then I have to keep on the lookout for Paris Boulevard, which I've taken before, but it's not really in my memory as to what that road looks like, so I need to be on the lookout for it because I gotta turn there, and that's gonna cut me all the way into the warehouse district where I need to be. Quick little Cali stop. It's funny, I never Cali stop in a car. Like ever. With a bike, I don't know. I guess it's just because the clutch, and I already stalled it and looked like a fool on this road, so I don't really want to do it again. I'm like, alright, let's just go. Go, go, go. And, you know, obviously, as a new rider, I'm very scared about the cars behind me, and, you know, I don't want to get taken out, so. Okay, so this is the stop sign I was looking for here. Indicators on. Start braking. 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. Yeah, so this, that gas generator sounds like my motorcycle. Oh, Honda. How you are the way you are. If I should just wave that guy through. He just waved me through, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready, buddy. I was scared, you know? But I decided to just go for it in hopes that I could catch up to another vehicle and just hang, which is exactly what's happening. I'm catching up to this trailer, and that's a good spot to be. I'm happy with that. Ooh, that was a little drop there. The crazy thing is, like, a part of me thinks about, like, boy, what would it be like to take this road on a more powerful motorcycle? But at the same time, it's like, why would I? If I had a more powerful motorcycle, I'd be on the highway and not have to take these strange back roads. Oh, he's getting away from me, and his wind is starting to cross over me. Come back here. Come back here. Come back here. I got it pinned. It's too lean. Come back here. I can't get him. We're going the same speed. Oh, now he's slowing down. I'm catching him. Okay. What is that?